Joined now in the Nation Network studio by Frank Seravalli, NHL insider of the Daily Faceoff and the Frankly Speaking podcast before he jets out of town. It's good having you here.
Great to be in Van.
And you're going to roll with the Canucks should they win this series?
Look, I was all in on the Canucks before the season started, so I'm sticking with them.
Yeah.
They need to do their end of that business.
What did you make of last night?
In an odd way, I thought it was their most complete game of the series.
Yeah, I agree.
They had plenty of chances, great looks. Rick Tocchet was thrilled with their first period, and rightfully so. And I don't even think they let their foot off the gas in the third. They just there's a couple untimely goals against and a little bit of sloppy play. Just think about some of the attention to detail required to win playoff games. You can't ice the puck carelessly. You can't take stupid penalties. I mean, you smash a bunch of those things together, and a desperate Nashville team that came into this saying, we know they're not going to want to fly back to Nashville. Well, a lot of motivation for them, too.
You think of the chances there when they're up 1-0, extending the lead, right? Like if they extend the lead to 2-0, I don't think Nashville comes back. But it's just so hard to do so in the playoffs, right?
And guess what? Here's the other part of this that no one really talked about after the game. UC Soros had his best game of the series by a wide margin.
A goal he probably wants to have back, but overall, yes, you're right.
Well, the goal was horrendous. Yeah. And he acknowledged after the game and chatting with him that he was so concerned about the Canucks making an east to west pass that he was already playing that instead of the shot, because he's probably thinking, there's no way Zadorov is putting that top cheddar at that angle. And so he was caught in the middle. But if you take that goal away, he made some seriously good saves. And more than that, some really lucky things. Like there was a couple cross ice plays. There was one that Soros was swimming way out of his net, and the puck somehow got caught up in his pads and squirted the other way instead of through the crease. Things like that, you remember that you're like, oh man, he was really good and lucky. But for a guy that entered the game with an .857 save percentage in the series, he was entirely gettable all the way until game 5.
Did the Canucks put too much emphasis on this and not wanting to fly back to Nashville? Did they play tighter as the game went along?
I didn't see that. I thought it was fascinating, though, that Ian Cole said it. Ian Cole is, love him, hate him, whatever you think of him, he's a great conscience. And he said, we've got to grow up. Essentially, that was the message. We need to mature here, because if we're worried about whether or not we have to fly across the continent again, who cares? He goes, I don't care if we win in double OT in game 7, whatever it takes, you've got to win the series. And, you know, I thought it was a point really well made today by Ian McIntyre when he said, if you told this Canucks team before the season started that they'd have an opportunity to close out round 1 in game 6 in Nashville, who cares about flying across the country to do it? Yeah,
they would have taken that for sure. Yeah. I mean, you leave that to the fans. The fans can say, hey, I want Hughes to get better and have a week off and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, you have to be able to roll the punch, like trying to pick your opponent in the closing weeks of the regular season.
Yeah, good luck. Never works.
Yeah. So the challenge, where were you on the goal challenge? Was there room to get that one back?
No, I think what's looming, of course, is the penalty.
Yep,
and sure. I don't think you can afford to be wrong. Even as pedestrian as the Predators' power play was this series, you know, of course, prior to getting a big power play goal, you know, I don't think I would have challenged.
Yeah, it's a big punishment.
Yeah. I know you haven't been entirely impressed with the aesthetics of this series. Game 5 was better.
Game 5 was that's as good and entertaining of a no-score game that you're going to have heading into the third period.
Is it just this playoff series that has the lower than regular shot totals? Like to me, they've been more exciting than their shot totals belie.
What do the Canucks have 90 shots or 91 shots through 5 games?
91.
Look, I think it's fair to say that their low shot total has painted a picture of what this series has looked like. Now, have there been exciting moments, like exciting flurries? The only interesting part of game 4 was the last 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Really, the only interesting part of game 1 was the third period. Like if you, and look, I'm not This is playoff hockey. Like, I'm not slagging it. Every series is different. And here's the part that I find it being in this city, people don't understand or appreciate. This is the Canucks doing. This is how they want to play this. Think about how they're deploying everyone.
Yeah.
What are we seeing a lot of? Tyler Myers, Ian Cole, Nikita Zadorov. I thought in a big way for the Canucks, there was a shift not only in the power and import of Quinn Hughes in game 5, but also it seemed like he played more. Seemed like there was a game plan change.
What likelihoods of a lineup change for game 6?
In terms of what? What are you thinking?
Well, I mean, how married. I mean, PDG did have a nice night penalty killing, so I just nibbling around the edges, getting Mikheyev off of. Like, a lot of people are upset that Pettersson's got Mikheyev to pass to, and it's just not going to happen for Ilya Mikheyev right now. But not that they've got a 40 goal scorer waiting in the wings either.
Side note: that was Mikheyev's most noticeable game of the series, which doesn't really say a lot, because if you didn't tell me heading into game 5, I'm not sure that I would have known that he was on the team.
Yeah.
Hoglander, I thought he was way better in game 5.
Still, though, you need some bottom line eventually, right?
Well, you cannot expect to be a 1.5 line team and win in the playoffs. No chance.
No.
What about a 2-line team? What about Lotto line and then Lindholm between Garland and Joshua, and take your chances?
It gives you a chance. And by the way, Joshua has been really quiet since game 1.
Yes, he has.
And no one, we kind of entered the series like, oh my God, this guy's going to take over the playoffs. And it's like, ooh, where's he been?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's room for improvement there.
What do you think? Do you think Lotto line becomes a staple here in game 6?
I love it as a break glass in case of emergency. And in some ways, I really wonder what the psyche of this team's going to be. How are they feeling? Does someone like an Ian Cole, who's won 2 Stanley Cups, help snap you back in line? Or is a game 5 loss something that turns into game 7?
Silovs in game 6?
I would have no reason to divert from Silovs. He's looked big. He's been confident. I love the swagger that he has. He definitely has some big game energy.
Mm-hmm.
I do think if they lose game 6 that they're going back to DeSmith for game 7.
What can you tell us about DeSmith? What's the update on the injury there?
I believe it was a slight groin strain that he probably would have played through, except they're already out Demko and they didn't want to have him play and make it worse and then have to go to Silovs and only Silovs.
Do you think he'll be 100% for Friday?
I think he's close to 100% now.
Okay.
And do you think Hughes got a little bit better in terms of?
He looked better.
Yeah.
He looked like a different player.
Yeah.
In game 5.
Yeah. So hopefully
the offense, everything was running through him again. It just wasn't the first 4 games.
Further to your game 6 becoming game 7, by the way, Mark Crawford yesterday told us back when he was with the Canucks versus the Wild, they lost game 5. He said, we lost the series in game 5. We didn't lose in game 7. And they gave up a 3-1 series lead. So let's hope that didn't just happen.
Zadorov making himself some money here.
I guess. I mean,
how much?
I got the same question about, was it you guys that asked me whether or not this contract or this playoff will hurt Filip Hronek and his earnings?
Well, the second half as well.
No, that was my next question, actually.
Well, first to answer Hronek, like the ARB case isn't changing. It's still going to be $7.5 million. So if that's the 1-year ARB deal, what's the longer term look like? Now, when it comes to Zadorov, I mean, I think there's certainly an expectation in his camp that he's going to get paid and paid handsomely. I think there's a real limitation there in terms of what he is and isn't. But this is the time of year when he throws big hits and scores a goal like that maybe someone's willing to pay. I just think, to me, I think he's a solid 4-5. And if you start to get into the territory of paying him $6 or $6.5 million a year, there's going to be some varying points in the year that you're going to be really disappointed.
Yeah.
Great seeing you.
Great to see you guys.
Yeah.
We hope to see you again.
We hope to see you again.
But I hope it's next round.
Yes. Yes. Indeed.
As opposed to, game 7.
Frank Seravalli, everyone.
Hey, everybody, if you're enjoying what you're seeing here, then follow along with Sekeres and Price on YouTube. I promise more content coming.
The kids call it subscribe on YouTube.
Well, how about liking it?
Do that as well. Smash it right now.